It's me, the D-O-double-G. Welcome to the Edenarmy podcast with your host tonight, Pete Robert Tucci.
Let's go, Edenarmy. Welcome to Friday night, the 28th. Thank you all so much for being here. There's a lot going on, but let's see who's in the house before we get started. Of course, Terry, I see Guy. Edenarmy number 1 is in the house. Rev made it already. Russ Sawyer, of course, is doing all the buttons in the background. Thank you very much for that. Will Gomez is in the house. Will, good to see you, brother. Hopefully you're not driving this time. You could participate a little bit. We do have a pretty darn good show tonight. And we're going to go over a few bits and pieces of the news, but not too much. Not like usual, okay? And we do have a special guest, but so let's talk. Larry's in the house. Hey, Larry, let's talk. Look, I know everybody wants to talk about this presidential debate last night, so let's get that out of the way first, shall we? It was a dismal performance by President Joe Biden, the leader of the free world. However, we anticipated that probably would happen, and that's not what we should take away from that debate last night. The one thing we need to take away from that debate is that the Democratic Socialist Party has been lying to the American people for the past couple of years. We knew that. We've reported that time and time again. Every week, we talked about how this guy was on a mental decline. Okay. But the Democratic Social Party has been hiding this from us. Joe Biden is not capable of running the country. So who is running the country then? Now, we know that I'll hold that thought. Now, look, we know that the Democratic Party and the liberal media will do anything to hold on to power. But the enemy of our constitutional republic is not Joe Biden. And that's something we need to realize. The enemy of our constitutional republic is not Joe Biden. It's the Democratic Party's ideology. It doesn't matter who their nominee is, whether they bring in this Newsom, this pretty boy Newsom, or they bring in Hillary Clinton or Camilla. The ideology of the Democratic Party is the enemy of the constitutional republic. And that's what we need to defeat. So the liberals are already yelling that they should immediately replace Joe Biden. However, it's not going to be as easy as people think. He already has the delegates. They've already spoken. They've already cast their ballot. So in order for the Democrats to replace him, he's going to need to completely drop out of the race. And I'm not sure his wife, Joe Biden, is going to allow that to happen. Okay, so I think Joe Biden will still be the running mate. If you watched the North Carolina rally with him today, it was stellar. It was a great performance by him. But he had his teleprompters, and I'm sure he was amped up on Adderall and whatever else they might have been pumping into him to save face from the debate, right? So, again, just remember that it doesn't matter if they replace Joe Biden. It's still the ideology that we're fighting against in our constitutional republic. So what has gotten brushed under the rug because of the debate is the fact that the Supreme Court has made 2 substantial rulings today. One in regards to the January 6th defendants. Most now cannot be charged with obstruction. So there's 200 or 300 of them that's been charged with obstruction. So this is a huge win for the political prisoners that are still being held, some of which are in solitary confinement. The other ruling that's significant is in regards to Chevron deference. The Chevron deference is referring to the doctrine of judicial deference given to administrative action. So what's that mean? That means before this ruling, if there was any gray area within the law, the feds granted that interpretation to specific federal agencies. This has huge implications, especially to the ATF, whose illegal opinions in regards to the Second Amendment have been under fire for a long time. Bump stock, short-barreled rifles, things like that. Those are opinions that they somehow shuffled into law. Chevron deference allowed them to do that. The Supreme Court overruled that so that no longer will affect any of the gray areas within the law that allow these specific agencies to make their interpretation basically law. So now, look, guys, tonight, current events is not our primary reason for being on. Tonight's podcast is all about Mr. Chris Ennis. And we're going to get to know him right after this message. Guys, we still have a number of spots available for that, and we need a minimum of 12 students to lock in that Troy's Gate experience. So look, if you can't afford all $500, at least put your deposit in. You'll skip the first day of class, and you'll still get the Troy's Gate experience for the $300 that you put in for your deposit. So please bear that in mind. If you can't afford all $500, I want you guys to do the Troy's Gate experience. That's the most important aspect of that weekend. And that's going to be going on right after Fallout in Harmony, North Carolina. So get your deposit in and let's get that locked in so nobody misses out. So without any further ado, let me introduce tonight's guest, the new voice of the Edenarmy, Mr. Chris Ennis. Chris, welcome, brother. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you so much. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great. It's finally so we've talked a lot over on the phone, right? But we haven't really got to get real intimate with each other per se. Now, we did do our due diligence and research the hell out of Mr. Ennis as much as we could to see if he was going to be a good fit for our little group of merry men and women. But sir, welcome to the Eden podcast. Now, we primarily stream on a platform called Kick, like I was mentioning before. So if you're not able to get all the comments, guys, if you're commenting, if you have any questions for Chris, myself, or Russ, just hashtag Chris, Pete, or Russ. I don't care, any of them, and write your question. That way Russ can go ahead and get them into the queue and we can see it. Now, we still haven't fixed the StreamYard Kick integration, so that's why he actually has to type all of those things. So please do us a favor and hashtag your questions. So very good. So Chris, give us a little background on who you are and what made you get into, now from what I understand, acting and a little bit of singing, right? Or something like that. So tell us what got you into that. Was that always a passion of yours?
Yeah, actually, baseball was my passion for a long time. I was pretty good at baseball and thought I would do that. My dad was a pastor, and we ended up moving from the town we lived in Oregon to a town in Texas. And I went and tried out for the baseball team. I was running track, and then the theater and choir bug bit me. I could always sing, and I don't know. I had to decide which one of those I was going to pick, and so I chose acting and music. But I love baseball, and so it's still one of my favorite things to watch. At least I don't get out to play it as much as I used to, but yeah, to watch baseball. And if you want to know, my team is the Houston Astros. That's who I root for.
Very good. So, CC, I knew this was going to be a match made in heaven. Baseball guy myself, played third base all through high school, got a college scholarship. Did not go to college in New Hampshire because it's too damn cold up there. So I came back to Florida and pursued other things. So very cool. So you have pretty established career in voice acting and, from what I understand, broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
What in the world made you decide to dive into the realm of audiobooks?
We live out in the country, and the one time that anybody's going to come by, you're going to hear it.
That's fine.
I've always been infatuated with character voices, cartoons. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and so Yoda and Frank Oz doing those voices, and Kermit the Frog, and all the folks on like the Muppets. And I just was like, man, someday I would love to do that. And that kind of evolved. A friend of mine, his name is Dave Cruz. He's a narrator as well, and he said, Chris, you gotta do this. You gotta try it. He loves it, and so I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. Let's dive into that. And now I'm hooked. I mean, it's so much fun to be able to bring a story to life that somebody else has spent a lot of time and passion, in, but to be able to bring it to life and say, all right, here's a new take on it. Here's how I would read it because I have 5 kids. And so, when you have kids, you're reading storybooks and you're making up all the characters and you're doing all that. And you're trying to make them laugh or trying to make them, be involved in the story. And that's kind of where it comes from.
Gotcha. Well, very cool. And I think you're going to be, like I said, a perfect fit. I've heard your audition. You did a second audition. Now, look, guys, Chris beat out some pretty well-established narrators. So, and it's not something that I actually took lightly by picking Chris, but I looked at everything in totality. All right, first of all, is he going to be a good fit? Do his values fall in line with our values? Okay, that's important. And I'm not talking about political values. I'm talking about family. I'm talking about faith, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But these kind of things they have to kind of fall in line with each other, or the working relationship is not going to work. And I just found something else out. He's a fan of bourbon. So so this is a match made in hell. But however, look, Chris, we are going to have a fundamental disagreement right now. And
okay.
We're just going to air this out right now.
Okay.
Just get it out of the way right off the bat. You are, like you just said, a huge Star Wars fan.
I am.
Now, I happen to believe that Star Trek, hands down, is the best series. What, sir, is your opinion on the Star Wars versus the Star Trek argument?
Everybody is entitled to be wrong, and I'll leave it at that. You can take that how you want. No, okay. So the funny thing is, my dad actually, when I was growing up, he would watch Star Trek every night, and so I watched Star Trek with my dad. And I think had it not been for Star Trek and kind of getting the wheels going, I don't know that I would have become a Star Wars fan. So right. I did start with like the basic, but I moved on to adult food, and now I have Star Wars. And so that's where.
That's perfect. Oh, so all right. So you're right. Everybody does have a right to make a bad decision in life. I get it. I certainly understand. I certainly understand. Now, guys, look, like I said before, make sure if you have any questions for Mr. Chris Ennis that you hashtag it, and we can get it to him. Look, you've been asking me all these questions for the last couple of weeks about this guy. He's here. We have him Friday night, so let's get. But what we won't be doing is having him do any character voices. You're gonna have to wait for that for the ACX or the Audible version. So
there you go.
Like I was saying before, a lot of factors did come to light as I was making a decision on a narrator. Because like I told Chris at the very beginning, I am so anal about this project and I'm anal about everything, guys. I want my hands in everything, and it takes every fiber of my being to kind of give control to somebody else, especially something creative that you really like to, that you really want to see, that you guys enjoy, first of all, and I want to see succeed. So we're putting our trust in Chris, and I think he's going to do a fabulous job. But some of the factors did come to light when making the decision on the narrator. Other than he did beat out some very good narrators. He has a great voice for Audible. Chris, tell us about your faith and how that guided through your career. I've never been shy about talking to my faith with my viewers. I know that's kind of taboo nowadays. I get it. But here's what you're going to find out about me, Mr. Chris, is I don't care about being taboo. It doesn't bother me at all. I'll be the guy on the outside looking in. I am more than comfortable. So guide us through or tell us how faith guided you through your career.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, so right now I'm currently a morning show radio host of a Christian radio station here in Delaware. I've been in Christian radio for a lot of my career. Before that, I was a worship pastor at a local church in Colorado Springs for 9 years. And so I did Christian radio before that. So I kind of bounced out of it, got into worship leading, and then got back into Christian radio. And a lot of that was really because of my mom. She ended up getting ill, and I wanted to get closer to her. And so we moved to Iowa from Colorado, which I always tell people it had to have been a God thing. I had to follow him. But when I was really young, I gave up my life and said, you know what? I don't want it to be mine. I don't want it to be about me anymore. I want it to be about whatever God wants it to be about. And so I just said, I'll do whatever you want me to do. And I really, truly thought I was going to be a singer. I thought I was going to be on the stage and having my songs on the radio. And so that's the kind of path I kind of went towards. And he had another plan. He said, no, I want you to be, either leading worship or on a Christian radio station, playing songs and encouraging people. And really, for me, it's actually turned out to be a really, really neat thing because every day is something very different. It's the same kind of things. We're playing the same songs. We might be talking, but being able to talk to listeners and people that we like to call them our community. It's like a living room. Hey, come on into the living room and let's have a convo. And so every single day, it's something brand new, following his plan. My wife and I, we've been married for 27 years. It hasn't always been easy. We had our ups and downs. We have 5 kiddos, and we just every step of the way, we just point towards God and say, all right, whatever you want us to do, we'll do it.
Yeah. And I found when I made that decision in my life is that it takes a burden off of your shoulders. When you realize you are not in control of every single aspect of your life, your successes, your failures and stuff like that, then it just lifts that burden right off your shoulders, which is great. And that's what that's what I enjoy. One of the many things I enjoy about our faith. So very cool. Yeah. So with that being said, and talking about faith, now it's hard to write a military fiction without doing, let's just say some colorful words and scenes. So now we do our first 3 books have been rated kids safe by the Christian post-apocalyptic book authors group, which I really did appreciate. Now, do you foresee so far any issues performing some of those maybe colorful scenes, understanding that you'll be acting, you might have to say some things that look, it's not you saying it. I wrote the stuff. It's not on you. You're acting them out. I understand it, but if you foresee any issues or anything like that?
No, and it's something I brought to my wife beforehand. I said, hey, look, this might be something. And she was like, well, she goes, how many times have you stubbed your toe and been like, oh, and so it was like, well, all right. Yeah. I mean, you got me there. And to me, when it comes down to it, it really is a word. It's what the context is we put behind it. And so being able to act that out and understanding, I always like to think of the movie Saving Private Ryan. And I remember back when it came out, they played it on ABC complete. They allowed all the cussing. They allowed all of it because that was what real life was. And that's how I look at this. This is how everyday folks talk, how I talk on occasion. Right. There's words that come out of my mouth and I'm like, oh, shoot, I can't say that on the radio, but I can say it at home. And so I look at it as like, no, there's not going to be any kind of issue. Really, when I'm not using it out of malice, and I'm really just reading it. I mean, gosh, the equivalent to the S word is in the Bible. So, Paul used that as a slang term for dog dung. So yeah, that's in the Bible. I'm like, hey, look, if he can be there, I can probably say it.
I agree, but I certainly that's something I never want this to affect your real life. Okay, so and now, like I said, these first 3 books are relatively benign as far as that's concerned. There's some colorful language. Sure. Now this next one I'm working on, and nothing, it would never use the Lord's name in vain or anything like that, but it comes from a perspective of a younger man who just got out of the military. And anyway, long and short, maybe we'll cross that bridge when we get to it anyway. So guys, just so you know, We're signing Chris up for all 3 books right off the bat, and then that 4th book that's going to be through our publishing company, we, with some good advice from a good friend of mine, Franklin Horton and Chris Weatherman, we retain the rights for the narration on it. So if he's still interested, if he's not tired of me already, then we are going to bring him on for that 4th book also. But we'll see how it goes. We'll certainly see how it goes. But he's definitely got the contract to ink out book 1. So we look forward to that. And as they go, now Will had asked a question what was that? Oh, you wanted to hear the narration, the audition again. Yeah, I'll cue that up next week, and then we'll get that out for you guys. But remember, it's a work in progress. This is a whole thing where he's got to learn what I had in my head for the characters. And then more importantly, the hardest part of all this is Lakin's voice, because she has more input on that than I do on the whole darn book. So she's like, no, I don't like that. It makes me sound like the quintessential sissy female. I need a little more. And she goes, all right. Well, we're going to work on that. So it is certainly something that's a work in progress, like everything we do.
Yeah.
Podcast was a work in progress, right? So it's basically everything we do is a work in progress. And are we going to be perfect at it on the very first go around? No, but we strive, like I've told you guys a million times, we strive to bring you the best product that we can. And once we stop achieving that, then I'll just go fishing every day and drink bourbon on the lake. All right. But it's like I was telling Chris, this is still fun for me. Maybe not the podcast so much, but writing is still fun for me, and talking to you guys all the time is certainly still fun for me. So we're going to continue doing it. So good. So a common theme in our books, Chris, is, my mantra, and this has changed throughout the years, but and it's a common theme in these first 3 books is faith, family, and country. Now, You just told me you've been married for 26 odd years. 27 years, and have a boatload of kids. Just tell us a little bit about your family without getting too specific. I don't need to know, everything about them.
Yeah, no problem. Wife and I have been married, like I said, 27 years. We were high school sweethearts, and then I was kind of a jerk. You may not be able to look at it now, but I was fairly decently good looking. And so I used that to my advantage and dated girls all over. And so that lasted a week. But then later she had mercy on me and saw that maybe there might be something more to me than just what I was, portraying. So got married, and we have our oldest is 20. She just turned 27 this past Tuesday. And so it goes 27, 24, 21, 17, and 16. She'll be 16 this coming Tuesday. And so only one in high school now, and just really, really awesome kids. And they each kind of follow their own path. They do their own thing. I've got one who's really into music. They all seem to be really into music. They all love music, and a couple of them really love musical theater. And so they're doing that. And so it's been fun. It's been good.
Very, 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 very good. Let me type something in chat real quick. Perfect. One of my buddies from the fire department just chimed in over on YouTube. I got to say hi to him. So yeah, very good. So I'm married almost as long as you. It feels like, they say time flies when you're having fun, right?
That's right.
And I've been married 20 years, and it seems like an eternity. I don't know why. It's supposed to fly by. It's not quite, but it's all right. It's what we do. I know. Very good. So Russ, if you're in the background in there, if we have any questions for Mr. Chris. Now, Chris, at some point I may call you Scott. I've got a really good buddy his name is Scott Ennis. So if I ever call you Scott, I apologize, but this is
no worries. My radio name is Chris Scotland. So if you were to call me that, people would, they would understand.
Perfect. All right, let's roll in some questions if we have any, Mr. Russ. So Terry wants to know, how is your Southern accent? Now, Terry, don't forget. Now, for whatever reason, when I first put the auditions out, I said, look, I want these to be a Southern farmer. And I didn't really mean to do that because I clearly don't have a Southern accent. I don't know what kind of accent I have. I was born in Florida, raised there, but I got some weird, like I think Will was making fun of the way I say warch instead of warch, right? So water instead of water, right? Yeah. So there is one particular character that we will do the Gunny Sergeant type of, give him that type of voice, but everything else is, and there are some redneck militia guys that Chris will have to work on. So Terry wants to know, how is your Southern accent? You don't have to do it. Just
yeah, no, I feel like it's good. I grew up in Texas, and I know Texas is different. I know Florida Southern is different than like Georgia Southern. But to me, I'm kind of a melting pot. I don't want it to be so Southern that you feel like you've met him somewhere. I want him to be like, oh, you could pick him out of any state that maybe you're in, or her, him or her. But so I feel like I got a good Southern. I got a handle on it at least.
I think he probably does. I think you're right. What else you got, Mr. Russ, in the background? Chris wants to know if you've enjoyed so far reading the Eden series. Now, I warned him. I said, look, book one is rough around the edges. We got scene breaks that don't exist, and you're going to have to cipher through those things. and I said, just call me. But the question from Mr. Gomez is, are you enjoying so far reading the series?
Yeah, I am actually. I grew up, with post-apocalyptic type TV shows and movies and things, and I'm like, oh man, this is really, it just wets my whistle. I'm a video gamer too, so I love playing like Fallout, the game series, and so yeah, for me, this is like right in the wheelhouse. If it's not sci-fi, then give me some nice PA, and I'm in.
Perfect. Did you watch the Fallout series on YouTube, or what'd you think of that? Or not YouTube?
I actually really enjoyed it. I felt like they captured the game. And which has always been hard.
Yeah, it certainly is, and like you said, many people have tried it, and they really get so far out of the realm of the game. And I think you're kind of right. Yeah, and my daughter, who's on here, she goes by the name of Cheese Doodle somewhere. She's a big gamer. She streams and does all that game, but she does the shoot 'em up games and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't have the dexterity anymore to do that. I used to smoke her. It wasn't even a question. I would just wear her out. Now I've lost that. Her sensitivity on her joystick is like at 100, and I can't even. I get seasick just trying to watch it. So, but she is a stud at those games. So
that's awesome. I'll have to check it out.
Yep. Go ahead, Russ. What do you got, my friend? So, Battle Gnome Corey asked if you're going to Fallout. So Fallout is an event in North Carolina, a preparedness Fallout. It's in October. They also have one in February or March that they call Mountain Readiness. We'll run a promo for that here in a little bit. No, so I don't know. With 5 kids and a full-time job and all that, I'm not sure he'll make it to this October. I mean, I won't speak for him, but certainly he would more than welcome to be invited to any of the Fallout things.
It sounds like it'd be a great time. Unfortunately, our Christian radio station does a fundraiser event. We do two a year, and October is usually the time, and so I'd have to keep that open. So that's just it's and that was another thing I had to get used to doing all this, Chris, is going to expos and actually look. I spent my entire life staying away from the camera, staying out of public eye, and then now all of a sudden I'm meeting people at these expos and doing silly podcasts and stuff like that. So that was something that I had. Now you, on the other hand, with a morning show, this is easy stuff for you, I imagine. Yeah, it's just like working. I mean, in the sense of I'm putting headphones on and talking to a microphone and just having a conversation. So
good. Your compression sounds good. Do you have a soundboard, or you just?
Yeah. So what I have is a Go XLR. And I'm about to upgrade, but it's a digital interface. A lot of gamers were using it years ago, and I picked it up.
I need to get something. I need more compression. I every time I listen to myself, I think I sound like Mickey Mouse. So I need to do something.
If you get if you want, I can give you a pretty good. It's Rodecaster 2. It's a pro podcaster. You can compress and equalize, and it's really good.
I need that in my life because like I said, I hate the sound of my voice. Corey did say, no, it's usually Opie that says I have the face for radio. I don't know what he means by that, but not very nice. So guys, that reminds me, while we still have Chris here, remember last week I had talked about we were going to try to work on some discounts from our friends over. Now Russ is probably scrambling right now because I'm going off agenda here. But we do have. I told you we were going to try to get the Edenarmy a discount over at doomandbloom.net. You know, that was our good friends Dr. Bones and Nurse. You'll know by that. So if you want 10% off, it's not an affiliate link. They're just said, listen, we'll give all of your viewers 10% off. Use code EDEN10 and you get 10% off from anything at store.doomandbloom.net. So there you go. We actually were able to nail that down. And again, those people, Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy, they're constantly going out of the way for us. And we had a little chat today, and I really showed our appreciation to them for that. So outstanding. Rev, I'm glad you finally got the voice back up. He says he's mentally challenged, so he finally got it working. You had a Biden moment, my friend. You had a Biden moment. It's no big deal.
He pulled one of these?
Yeah, exactly. Russ wanted me to actually start the show just like that for about 30 seconds, and I couldn't do it without laughing. So I didn't do it. So any more questions, Russ, in the background there? Battle Gnome wants to know preferred ammunition, 9mm or 45, if that's even an option for you. Not everyone owns guns, Battle Gnome.
Yeah, so it is something I want to own. I just don't right now. We've done so much moving. I just didn't want to deal with all of that. So, but now I know this isn't going to count, but if you're asking me about my favorite video game and it's PUBG, I would say I will choose a 9mm gun in that game over a 45. If that helps.
I agree. Even in real life, why? More capacity in a 9mm usually. Look, I'm not a macho guy, and it's what I tell all my students. I teach firearms in my spare time. What I tell all of my students: look, a 45 caliber, if it hits you right here, is going to kill you. A 9mm, if it hits you right here, is going to kill you. However, if you're not hitting your target and they're all going by, doesn't matter what damn caliber you have. You're not hitting anything. So this is what I tell people all the time. Go get trained before you worry about the super plus P plus 45 calibers or anything like that. Go get some training, people. Good opportunity right after Fallout with us. Yeah, Chrissy says, yeah. Whenever you're in town or wherever we get together, we'll break out the alleged arsenal and put you through some drills and get you proficient before, especially with 5 kids in the house. You're going to want to be very proficient with your firearm. So we can certainly do that. A Reverend says he can't even play Pong, let alone these PUBG games and stuff like that.
It's like, yeah, my dad will try and play with the grandkids, and it's not pretty.
Will asked me how that. Now, Chris, you don't know this, but my wife has put me on a very low carb diet, which is horrible. Okay. So he's asking how the diet's going, and how do you like the pizza video I sent you? Yeah, I hated that pizza video that you sent me. I deleted it, but the good news is tomorrow's cheat day, and baby girl ordered some New Haven style pizza, which apparently you can have shipped. So I have 5 of them in the freezer that I'll probably eat all 5 of them tomorrow. And if that's another question on what pizza is best in the world, well, hold on. Let me ask Chris. Best pizza in the world: Chicago, New Haven, New York.
Oh man. Well, I know it's probably, I'm going to get another demerit, but I'm going to say out of those, New York. Not a deep dish guy. I mean, I like it. It's fine, but I'm not a deep dish guy. But I think if you can fold and go, let's go.
Yeah. See that deep dish. It's not. That's a pie. It's not even. It's like quiche. They're making in Chicago. Right, exactly, they're making quiche. Exactly. Yeah. It's not. So anybody that likes deep dish pizza from Chicago, just go ahead and tune off right now. We don't need that negativity in our lives. All right. But for the record, New Haven style pizza is the best in the world, and maybe we'll visit. Now you're in Delaware, right? Where are you located? Okay.
Yeah, we're in Delaware.
So Delaware is not too far away. We'll have to do a road trip and drop you off some New Haven style pizza. Let's see. No, Teresa's no pineapple ever goes on pizza. Never, ever.
Whoa.
No, okay. Okay, let's. Okay. And we just lost Chris. And I don't even know who the second guy was. Now I got to figure that shit out.
Yeah. Look, that's not a hill I normally will die on, but.
So Mama Teresa says she likes you for the pineapple, I'm assuming.
Thank you.
If you want mail order pizza, go to Emo's St. Louis style and get a toasted ravioli.
That's good. Emo's Pizza out of St. Louis is really. We just moved to Delaware from Illinois, and that's a really good pizza.
No, I have to try it. I can't toast it. It's just guys. It's sacrilege. You don't. What is toasted ravioli? It's sacrilege. I'm an Italian guy. You can't just start toasting up raviolis and deep frying raviolis. Battlegnome wants, without getting too specific, what part of Illinois are you from?
Central
area, which that's probably very close to where I broke down in my RV and spent 4 days in a truck stop.
The Peoria area, if you're familiar.
Gotcha. We're coming out of Champaign and got a blowout on the RV on the way up to the North 40 riding shack, and of course it was a weekend. Nobody had any spare tires, so I spent 4 days in a truck stop, but that's all right. It was fun.
That sucks.
Reverend Finch says he likes Chef Boyardee ravioli. I can't. No, none of that's good. Any other questions? Let's see. Private chat is popping. Post them in private chat, Russ, and I'll. Thoughts on Leave the World Behind and Civil War. So 2 movies, Leave the World Behind and Civil War. What were your thoughts on that?
So
without getting too political, of course.
No, absolutely. So Leave the World Behind was an interesting case study, but I felt like they just had no idea where they were going with it. To me. Civil War was an interesting movie. I don't know that I ever need to see it again, but I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm glad I went, but it also felt a little too real, if that makes sense. In some ways, I liked how it. I really loved Breaking Bad. Jesse Plemons' character, as rough as he was, man,
right?
He's a great actor, and so that was a really good character. And I thought overall it was well acted, and the story of kind of a modern day here we go scenario.
Right.
I was like, whoa,
right? Which is what I was saying about some of the fiction we write, right? Because slowly this fiction is becoming our reality, unfortunately, not to the extent of the books, but some of the stuff, especially in this book 4. You're going to say, wow, that's kind of what's going on now. But Civil War, I didn't mind. Now, all the gun freaks and all the army guys hated that movie. But from the perspective of the journalist, it was a well-written movie. And as long as you understood that was from the perspective of the journalist, not the guys that are on the front lines fighting every day. Right. It was a perspective from the journalist. I enjoyed it. But I'm like you. I don't think I'd need to ever see it again. But
yeah.
What else you got from Go ahead. Yeah, we'll go. We'll just run with them, Russ.
That was a Christmas gift. Oh gosh, years ago. And so he's come with me everywhere. We quick story, we moved from Colorado to Iowa. The day we unloaded our U-Haul truck, a 100-year flood came through, and we lost half of our things. And my wife made sure to save Darth Vader because he was underwater, but she sprayed him off and got him clean. So he's still with us.
So Cheese Doodle, you don't, I don't know if you were listening, but your new narrator, young lady, is a big gamer, plays PUBG and stuff like that. So I think he knew The Last of Us was a video game. He's not that old.
Used to stream, actually streamed both of them on Twitch.
There you go, Cheese Doodle. I look, I'm gonna wager right now that our new narrator, the voice of Eden, can take you out, baby girl, on these first person shooters.
Uh-oh. I don't know about that.
The gauntlet has been thrown. She is.
I don't know about that.
She is really crazy at that stuff. I don't quite understand it. But what else you got for us, Mr. Russ? Are we good to go? Terry says, I appear to have made a good decision with the narrator, I assume, the reader. Good. I think he's going to be a good fit for our tribe. And that's what's most important to me. I want someone you can all relate to. I didn't want to bring somebody in here that you couldn't have a conversation with and you could never get a hold of, or you can never ask me the question for him, or give positive feedback, right? Because I know Terry, especially Terry, when we were prepping for the podcast and early on, we'd bring Terry on Discord and she'd listen and she'd be like, no, that sucked, man. You got to fix something there. I'm like, okay, we got it. I'm working on it. So that's one weird thing that we do here that maybe not everybody does in this particular genre. I take a lot of input on how I write and what I write about, not to where it drives the story, but a good idea is a good idea, right?
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
So. And ultimately, they are what keep the lights on. So you give them the product they want. This is not all about me. It's about the community and what we call our tribe. So very cool. What else you got? Russ, that's all. Russ says that's all of them. Russ is throwing his hands up. He's good to go.
He's out.
He's out. He says, that's it. I've done my job. I'm done. So Chris, you're more than welcome to stick around with us for the rest of the show. You do not have to. This is normally the time where we cut the feeds to Facebook and YouTube, but I never keep my guests after the initial Q&A session. But so don't feel like you have to stick around. But
awesome.
Using that, I'm going to leave you with the last words, Mister. Let me change. I got to learn how to change scenes here. Do this. Boom. You, sir, have the last word. Go ahead.
Uh-oh.
Anything you want to share with the community?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an incredible honor to take what you guys have fallen in love with in the pages and to try and bring it to life. I'm going to do the very best that I can. Thank you for believing, and thanks for letting me just hang out and get to know you guys, because getting to know this community helps me as I'm reading, as I'm narrating, as I'm bringing the characters to life. Like, how will somebody in our community listen to that and go, oh yeah, I totally get that. I totally get where it's coming from. So I appreciate you guys. I can't wait to come and hang out a little bit more. You might see me in the chat here and there. And I'm very, very, very excited to get this done and to get book one out to you guys as soon as it's ready. We are not going to speed through it. We're not going to make any rush decisions, but we're definitely going to make sure it is exactly what we want it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, I appreciate you spending your Friday night. I know you're a busy man. Thank you for being here with us. And if we have any further questions, we'll get them to you. Feel free to join the chat whenever you like on Friday nights, or if you want to come on the screen and say, give us a progress report, more than happy to have you on, sir. With that being said, we're going to go to a quick intermission. Chris, I appreciate you. I'll touch bases with you tomorrow. Thank you for being here, sir.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.